Now know the names of two people who were killed in a crash between a motorcycle and a bicycle in Lexington last night. That accident happened on Mason Headley Road near Beacon Hill Road, where both riders were pronounced dead at the scene.
The coroner's office identifies the motorcycle rider as Zachary Allen and the bicyclist as Zachary Blessing. WKYT's Carly Hochstein shows us how some people are now voicing their concerns of the safety on roadways.
Right here on the intersection of Mason Headley and Beacon Hill Road was where last night around 7 o'clock a bicyclist and a motorcyclist collided, leaving 2 fatalities. And so now bicyclists and pedestrians are calling for more safety measures to be added to Lexington roads. Joshua Cromwell, who lives at the intersection of the collision, says with drivers speeding, the roads are sometimes not safe enough to bike or even walk his dog.
To me, it shocks because it's such a major road and there's no sidewalks or anything like that.
And that's why avid cyclists like Julie Bowers-Pryor says that more bike lanes and sidewalks would help everyone feel safer.
When I'm in a space where I have a protected lane, I know that there is space reserved for me and that motorists are going to be aware of that being separate, and that adds an extra layer of protection for the cyclist.
The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet counted at least 66 pedestrian and bicycle deaths so far this year in Kentucky. Bowers-Pryor says now is the time to start making a change.
Any loss is tragic and heartbreaking, and anything that is a preventable loss is even worse.
She says simple things like educating one another on cycling and driving laws, or even being patient on the road, can make a change.
You don't know who that person is on that bicycle. That could be somebody's mother, husband, sister, child. Their life, and it matters.
In Lexington, Carly Hochstein, WKYT.
We will continue to update you as the police are still investigating this incident. To get alerts, you can download our free WKYT News app.